not going to get off that easy, Randy. And you're not going to get off until this is concluded tonight, so we're still on board until we finish tonight. So, that being said, on behalf of myself, on behalf of the city council, on behalf of every single one of the city department heads and all employees, I want to say thank you for your service. Randy's going to end one chapter of his life, he's going to begin a new one. We wish you good health, a lot of happiness, Randy. On behalf of the city, I want to present you this plaque. One more thing, Randy. We have the key to the city.
Oh, thank you.
That's nice.
I just want to say one thing. I think it's been a great opportunity. I've learned from all of you, and I really appreciate it. It's nice to get into a body of people that don't always agree, but at the end of the day, they can still be friends. So, thank you.
Thank you, Randy.
Okay, we'll begin then with the approval of the consent agenda. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of the formal agenda items. Does anyone on the council have anything they wish to have removed from the consent agenda?
Not removed, but I just have a question on J1 for the aquatics for 3 a week for all year. Did we do that?
What's the question again?
Well, there's 3 drawings to be held a week, every
Right.
week, for the entire calendar year of 2016. I've never seen that. I just,
They do it every year.
oh, we do that?
It's a calendar, it's an annual event calendar. People buy it for $25. I bought and I won.
I bought all the time. I've bought too, and I've seen the raffle before. I guess I've never been questioned whether we can approve a raffle that's
Ongoing.
ongoing.
I didn't know. We tried to give it Carl.
You know, now that it's described, I remember doing this. I've just never heard that calendar described as a raffle before. I guess it is. Yeah, but I bought 2, but I've never won.
I just get my money back.
Okay, does anyone from the public have anything they wish to have removed from the consent agenda? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda as listed.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Smith,
Aye.
Charks,
Aye.
Allen,
Aye.
Barrington,
Aye.
Dosher,
Aye.
Tronis,
Aye.
Rice,
Aye.
Olson.
Aye.
Motion carries. Citizen input. If you need to address the mayor and members of the city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium and state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time.
Mr. Mayor, we discussed, had a little sidebar about the lake, and then we had the meeting in your office and talked about a lot of things in the lake too. I've asked my wife and some of her students to come and give us a little report on what they found at the lake and how much it costs and how much it would cost to keep going. So I don't know if their presentation will be a little longer than 3 minutes, but it's the lake.
We just want to thank you for letting us come and present. And it's very fitting, being American Education Week, to show how our students can actually be really contributors to the city. And so I have several of my students. We had a lot more that were involved in the project. But we have Dominic Northrup, we have Megan Witt, we have Tiffany Robertson, and Heather Tolliver that all helped. Should be the link. Or you can pull it up if you want. The water quality PowerPoint. So small, it's hard to see. Little teeny ones. And then it'll have the results that we have, and I actually have data back to 2002 because I've been doing water quality with my.
If you could talk into the microphone. People are on the internet making fun.
Never heard that
That's
one before,
okay.
right?
We actually have data. We did several spots, and the students will talk about that. But we have data back to 2002. So we had Mike Blollet also came out with us and shared a lot of his expertise with the students. So. Whoever wants to talk.
Okay, so our presentation today is over water quality of Mitchell Lake. We did the pH, nitrate, wind speed, and the turbidity. And for the turbidity test, we looked through a tube that helped us determine what the turbidity in the water was. The nitrate in the water, which was 0, which is good for the water quality. The pH meter is always high because of the limestone, which is located in the water. Dissolved oxygen, the fish need it because it helps bacteria live. If it's too low, the fish die in the winter, which is not good because some people go ice fishing. The water hardness is limestone. The fecal coliform is only high in the creek, such as dry run. It's greater than 100, and if so, they will need, the fish will swim close to the beach. And then we took the temperature by the thermometer, and we had one that can go in the water. The phosphate we took, and phosphate is by animal waste, human waste, fertilizers, which is from lawn and agriculture, and it doesn't break down as fast. Special projects are looking at which plants take phosphate out of the water. And this is where
We're still getting data. We're still getting data on that. We actually have some aquaponic systems that a couple of the students set up, and so we have some different plants that are in the water, and then we're testing the water to see how fast the phosphate goes down.
You're just in different areas? Are you at the mouth of it coming in?
Every one of those stars is where my students tested.
Okay, all right.
So we tested 2 miles, 1 mile upstream. We tested right below the spillway, and then all the spots around there. You'll see the names in just a little bit, but when you do the water quality, each different measurement has a different weighting factor, so you can see that weighting factor. And so the highest, the factor, obviously the fecal coliform there is pretty high weighted. The dissolved oxygen, those two are the most important measures of water quality. And so you put those results in, and then you actually get a rating for the water quality. So I know it's a little hard to see. I have some printouts here, but basically you can see at the different ones there. A green would mean good, yellow means it's very questionable, and red, in this case it looks more pink, would be measurements that would be considered an F. So obviously the phosphates, the turbidity, they kind of go hand in hand, because the more phosphate, the more algae you have, plus just the color of the lake. The oxygen levels, if it's a windy day, it's good. If it's still and warm, it's not good. So
as, if there's less algae, do those numbers go down to the yellow or green?
yeah, the turbidity would go.
That's based on, what is defined as turbidity?
Turbidity is how cloudy, you can't see through the water. And that's important, because if light can't get past the surface of the water, you don't get photosynthesis and you don't get oxygen deeper down. So
This is some of the stuff that we're doing in class. We got a bunch of plants that we built up so we can see which ones grow, which one takes oxygen, which ones don't. And then the other picture, we're building like a river. We're gonna put plants in that and see how it turns out and all that.
It's just a simulated stream, so we'll have a water pump and they'll see, because it is different, a lake versus a stream. And then we have some students that are going to be investigating the blue-green algae. It's actually a bacteria. It's a cyanobacteria. And a lot of the Iowa lakes are closing their lakes because they have microcystin levels, which are toxic, which may explain why, I don't have any proof of it, but it may explain why we had that big carp die off this summer. Microcystins are liver toxins, and we have a lot of blue-green algae, so that's something that we would like to test in the spring is the blue-green algae and the microcystin levels.
You test this weekly, or how do you do that?
We just test it in the fall, and we'll test it in the spring.
Every week in the spring, or just in
No,
just
just
one time?
once. We could do it more, but we don't have the time. To test all those sites took us 2 full mornings. We're getting fast, though, by the end there.
This was
So
your
with
first
those
year for
out-
doing this, correct?
Yeah, for this group of students. Every time you get a new group of students.
How many years you been doing it at the school then?
I've been doing this I have data back to 2002. So
Have the numbers changed since 2002?
I haven't really looked at them too much. I want to pull out like dates and see, and I don't have the exact weather for those days because that makes a big effect. If there's a big rainstorm, you could have really high phosphate and nitrate levels in the spring. And
So you haven't done a comparison analysis yet?
no,
When you're
we
next
want
year.
to, and we never went to those other sites. The only place we really ever went to was the fishermen's area, the sportsman's club area, because it's shallow and I won't lose students that way. That's a bonus. And so there's a bunch of pictures, and the students, they just have a blast out there and learning a lot of things, and the projects keep developing from that. So
Where do you get all the waders?
I wrote a kids grant, and so I got 5 new sets of waders. Otherwise, the ones that I had were the ones that I had back down in 2002, and so they leak like sieves.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
but we're gonna, keep trying to get a few more because I have students of all sizes. I can't put girls in size 12 boots.
Yeah.
They kind of drown in those.
I just want you to know that when I first read about this, I thought, what a wonderful project this is. It's a good learning experience for our students. You kids benefit from it. The city can benefit from this. I just want you to know that this mayor supports what you're doing. I hope the city council does too, moving forward from year to year, that we can cooperate and work with you kids to make this an ongoing project.
So,
Thank you.
so what would it cost to keep this going? I know you got a $1,700 grant this year. I forget you get so many, I forget which one it was, but what would it cost on an annual basis to keep this going so that we could get data that we could compare from, I'll make up a date, October 13th of this year to October 13th of next year, and those kinds of things?
You have to replenish the chemicals for the kids just to make valid measurements. And so with the kits and figuring out that you're going to spring some leaks in those waders is, if we got a new pair of waders every year or 2, depending, I had figured about $463 to $600, depending on 1 or 2 pairs of waders. And then there's some other things that, in science you should take at least 3 measurements in the average. So another kit, there's a couple of things that would be just a one-time, but overall, like I said, about $600 a year.
So what's the $1,1100?
Well, that would be if we got another surface water kit, and then sampling bottles, because you have to take water samples and bring them back to do the fecal coliform. And then the BOD bottles, which means biological oxygen demand. That's where you take a sample and you have to measure the oxygen on day 1, and then 5 days later, it's a measure of the amount of organic matter that's in the water, which could be from a whole bunch of sources. That's one of the measurements used to determine water quality.
Well, I think this is great from a number of levels, but one of them is, having the proof of what everybody knows, and it kind of reinforces the mayor's strategy of going upstream and trying to deal with things that way. And if you could figure out plants that took phosphate out of the water, I mean, the Nobel Committee would be knocking at your door, so.
Well, we're also, I have another student testing barley straw. A lot of farmers use barley straw to help keep algae from growing in their stock ponds, and so we're looking at that. It doesn't get rid of algae, but it's supposed to keep it from growing. So maybe we'll just line, instead of the gabions, we'll have bales of straw.
Hey, Julie, do you take any of the readings around that solar bee that they have at Lake Mitchell?
We don't have a boat.
So no information from that?
No, actually, I mean, personally, I think the solar bee, if they would put that not out in the middle of the lake, but maybe in those little bays where it's a little stiller, to get the oxygen and the water moving there, it would, if they don't get rid of it, I would place it there instead of out in the middle of the lake. The water's moving out in the middle of the lake.
Sure.
It's in those little bays where it gets stagnant.
Right.
So they work much like an aerator in a
Yeah.
fish tank.
Yeah.
Julie, did you make this present, or the kids make the presentation to the Lake Development Committee?
Be a good
I think-
idea.
I think it's something that maybe would be a good learning experience for them and the committee possibly, because in Dusty, I don't know, you probably have seen this report, and I know lakes are important to you, especially ours. So I don't know, do you think it'd be beneficial to have the presentation?
Actually, the December meeting, we're going to be reviewing water clarity data that's been collected for the last 3 years, different points of the lake around the solar bee, what have you. So it might be a good opportunity. That
Maybe
meeting.
compare.
Yeah.
And then if Mel's brought up the fact of what, there is cost associated with this, and maybe what we want to do is maybe work through the Lake Development Committee and Dusty, and possibly maybe come back with some type of proposal that we can look at, because the more data we can collect, we know is for the best.
Exactly. Well, I think it's a good program, and if we can help you, the city council, if we can help you in any way, let us know.
They won't argue about getting to go out and test the water.
You've got a classroom, don't it?
Thank you, Julie, and thank you, students. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
And can I just say, speaking as a parent of 2 of your former students and just a community member, I think that we are really, really lucky to have educators like Julie Olson in our school system. So thanks for all you do, and congratulations on another great honor that you received recently.
Thank you.
Thanks again. Is there anyone else with citizen input? Okay, we're moving on then. Board of Adjustment. I would entertain a motion of the City Council to recess and sit as a Board of Adjustment.
So moved.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Set a date. Entertaining motion to set date for December 7th, 15 for Board of Adjustment. Hearing as listed below. Hearing on the application of Dean and Kimberly Knutson for an oversized variance of 3,200 square feet versus 2,000 square feet for construction of an accessory building located at 701 North Blair Street, legally described as Block 4, Home Park, Original Edition, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Set the date.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Same sign, opposed? Motion carries. Hearing on the application of Marilee Johnson Gary for a conditional use permit for a home occupation that provides counseling services located at 1321 East Second Avenue, legally described as Lot 1 and East 1/2 of Lot 2, Block 12, ST Green Addition, City of Mitchell, Davidson County, South Dakota.
Mayor and council, if I direct your attention to the November 9th Planning Commission minutes, you would see that the Planning Commission held a hearing on this request and have recommended approval of this conditional use with two conditions. One, that it not be more than 6 visits per day, and that the hours be 8 p.m. Be limited to 8 a.m. to 9 p.m. Monday through Saturday. The applicant is here if you've got more specific questions. There was no neighborhood objections or anything of that nature. So she's here if you have any more specific questions.
Neil, why the 6?
That was just, they just felt that was her number, and then she had indicated was an
They worried
acceptable
about
now.
traffic, the amount of traffic in and out of the area. And that, it's one of those things with the home occupations, that the city really looks at how many actual visitors are gonna be at the location. And it wasn't it lower before that?
Well, the way we have it now in our ordinance, home occupations that are very, very subtle, very low-key, it's possible that you may get a home occupation approved administratively, but it's called 4 visits per day, and that's a limit, So if you have a business that's really, if it gets over that 4, that seems to be the threshold that it starts to have a little bit more of an influence on the residential character of the area. And so this was one of theirs. And then, again, she's here if you've got more specific about her type of business, so.
They had questions such as,
Yep.
how many people come to a visit, because some could be one person, some could be a family. And they wanted to kind of control the number of people coming into the area.
The only reason I ask is the hours of operation, not that you would actually operate from 8 to 9, but it's 13 hours. And so you would have 1 visit every 2 hours. I mean, it just.
My understanding is she's also going to operate out of a different facility as
There's
well,
another
too.
office.
So I'll let her explain.
Well, I mean, there was really nothing, I mean, you're welcome to explain. I really don't need an explanation, other than I just thought 6 was ridiculously low for a 13-hour day.
I don't mind commenting on that quickly.
It seemed to me we were trying to limit your success, that's all.
I actually really appreciate that. The thing about the number 6 is that when you say 6 people a day, which what you end up with is double that hour amount with the paperwork that's required. And so that's why that kind of an average would not be considered too low for mental health. Also, there's quite a bit of emotional energy when you're working with people. Sometimes they're very angry, sometimes very anxious. 1 minute you might be working with a family of 5 or a child that has gotten in trouble at school. So you have to shift gears a lot in the day. So after 6 hours and then plus the paperwork, it's probably a pretty full day.
Okay, I was just curious. And then I just have one other question for Neil, not that you would sneak a 7th one in. But go ahead.
One real quick.
Yeah, Marilee, don't leave this.
Will you have any plans for signage?
No, I do not.
Okay. All right.
So Neil, what happens in a case like this if number 7?
Normally, how this happens when we have, people have issues, usually it comes from a neighborhood complaint or somebody would monitor it. And also too, it's on record now so that there's a way we can hold applicants accountable. And that's why either through the administrative process that they sign a document or as they go through the conditional use permit, so that there's a way that we have that they've agreed to do that. Obviously, if you vote this way, she's agreeing to that. If all of a sudden somebody does, normally my protocol is I usually contact the owner or the applicant and say, hey, it's been brought to my attention, either it depends on the severity of it, and either just remind them of that activity, if I can prove it, or those types of things. And usually they take care of it, or it's a nice, just from, oh yeah, I did that. But obviously then, I mean, it's also, so it's eventually could be subject to revocation of their permit. But that would be the ultimate.
Right. Is that done through us, or is that an administrative
Well,
thing?
I'd probably have to consult with legal counsel, but I'd have to also make sure that I have it be, I would try an approach, more of a friendly approach first. And I've had it, in my years of doing this, I've maybe had it come up once or twice. And sometimes what it is, like I would say, I'm trying to think of one off the top of my head. Or like maybe some of the conditional uses where they maybe have had required some type of outdoor storage or something like that, and all of a sudden it kind of gets, and then we kind of rein it back, But that's kind of the gist of it.
Yeah, I just want to make
Yeah,
clear,
that's
I
kinda how
don't
we do
have
it.
any issues with this particular applicant. I'm
But
just
that's how,
curious.
I've, on occasion, I've have to remind people that, you did agree to these conditions and so forth, and.
So out of curiosity for myself, what if you had met your 6 people and then you had someone who called and said,
Emergency.
I have an emergency, I need to see you? Would you just have them meet you at your other office?
Yes, I do share an office with another therapist in town also. And so I do have access to another office.
Moreover, too, this would also not prevent, or lots of other kinds too, this would not prevent her or some similar operation. She could go to another facility. A home occupation is where the activity is taking place at the facility. So if you go at that's another thing, so.
Move to approve.
With the conditions?
With the conditions, yeah.
Okay, we have a motion, we have a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. I would entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the City Council to reconvene in regular session.
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Action on Resolution 3313, a plat of Torrey Pines Avenue in Lake Butte, Second Edition, a subdivision of the northwest 1/4 of the southwest 1/4 of Section 9, Township 103 North, Range 60 west of the 5th PM, City of Mitchell, Davison County, South Dakota.
Again, you probably see in the last planning commission minutes that they did approve this plat. This is basically the street that's currently under construction, so you need to now at some point is when they start selling off lots and so forth, you have the right of way that is dedicated. So that's the purpose of this, is to delineate the right of way.
Move to approve.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Application to approve the renewal of liquor and wine licenses.
The Public Safety Division has no concern on any of the renewals of all these licenses. We're in favor of having them renewed.
This is a standard question, maybe it's not fair to ask you, but is there anybody who, had their 2 violations in a year?
Not amongst this list, no. These are all fine.
Move to approve.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I have one thing before we adjourn, and I'm not pining away to give a committee report, but should we have had committee reports somewhere on the agenda? Traffic, sidewalk, public safety,
We should have had that, yes.
it makes no difference to me. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it should have been on
Should have been
there.
on there, it wasn't on there, yeah. I didn't catch it either.
Well, I didn't either until we got to the end here, but, yeah.
Before we adjourn, should we have a motion then to approve the minutes of the committees?
Before approve the committee report.
Right, we do got, yeah. The first one was the the sidewalk committee.
I was hoping I'd slip out. Okay, sidewalk committee met tonight at 6:45. Tim wanted me to go through a review of the 5-year plan. So we modified 2016 plan and removed Davison from 11th to 12th until the stretch gets rebuilt. And then we went over the next 4 years, showing the areas on the layout. And we also talked about new construction that hasn't put in their sidewalks since the city code went into place. So we're going to take a look at those and start adding them to the list and try to get them done in 3 to 5 years. That was Sidewalk Committee.
Okay. Public Properties?
Public Properties Committee met tonight at 7:15. We had one item on the agenda. We had a request from a homeowner, at least they're building a home, to do something with the street light at corner of 407 and North Harmon Drive. And the request was to move the light, and through committee discussion, it was decided that moving the light wasn't possible. We tabled the request with the idea that Public Works will look at a different kind of light, or perhaps lowering the light, and we'll take this up at another time. And we adjourned at 7:30.
Traffic?
Traffic Committee met at 7:30. We had one item on the agenda, and that was a request from the Christmas at the Palace Committee to close the 600 block of North Main November 23rd, 2015, from 3 p.m. to 8, and also restrict the parking in that area. Again, a reoccurring event that we've had no issues with, and that was approved.
Thank you. Motion to approve?
Move to approve.
Second? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carries. Motion to adjourn.
So moved. Second.
Carries.